Hello, my name is Kristina Crump. I'm a consumer bankruptcy attorney here in Kansas, as well as Western District of Missouri.
Hi, I'm Chris Coons. I am also a consumer bankruptcy attorney.
Today we have kind of a touchy subject, maybe a little bit, but we wanted to talk about the stigma that the society puts you if you decide or if you had to file a bankruptcy.
Yeah, so I am really, I am put out by that stigma. I am put out by that stigma for a whole host of reasons, but I want to remind everybody that bankruptcy courts are authorized in the Constitution, and citizens have a right to avail themselves of those courts. And bankruptcy courts are set up for, and this is the quote you get, the honest but unfortunate debtor. And the whole idea is to have a system that is set up so that we can orderly deal with default. You know, people defaulting on debts.
I think a lot of times what's in the news or what people kind of think about when they hear about bankruptcy is people racking up, thousands of dollars, taking vacations, traveling around the world kind of deal. But in reality, what happens is there might have been a medical expense, a trip to the emergency room, a lost job, maybe a divorce, something like that, that puts people in the position where they want to pay people back, but they just can't. And so to, kind of continue to stigmatize that or put that kind of burden on people, it's really unfair, just as a human being, But I know there are other considerations for bankruptcy as well.
Well, credit is readily available. It's readily available in our society. And if you're going to have an economy where you readily give out credit, and you often do so at high interest rates, you then have to have a system for default. Whenever you see an interest rate, that interest rate is composed of different factors. One is the time value of money. One is the cost of administration of the loan. One is the profit off the loan. And then finally, the risk of default. And so interest rates build in the risk of default. So whenever you borrow money and you're paying interest, that risk of default is built in. Interest rates are like insurance for banks. That's what it is. It's designed to cover all the loans in a certain category so that the bank is going to be made whole regardless of whether you individually default on the loan. There is an assumption, if you're the bank, that a certain percentage of all borrowers are going to default. So remember this, when your bank loans you money, your bank knows that people are going to default on these loans, no matter what the bank tells you later, no matter what a credit card company says later, they all know. And so the bankruptcy system there is there to deal with these defaults, and it keeps the entire system running. Bankruptcy is literally the grease that we put on the wheels to keep everything going. Because if we did not have the bankruptcy system, I want you to imagine what would happen. If there was no bankruptcy system and people went into default on their debt, and let's imagine we're talking about $20,000 of debt, somebody goes into default on it, they can't pay it, judgments are taken against them, and now there's no option for bankruptcy. And so they're working a job and they're making $20 an hour. And all of a sudden a garnishment comes in and it takes away, $5 an hour from them. Because that's what 25% is going to be. I want you to think about that. That garnishment is liable to make them homeless. It's liable to make it so they can't pay their basic bills, so that they can't support children. It's going to be ruinous. What is their alternative? Well, their real alternative, if there's no bankruptcy system, is to go get a job for cash and not to work a W-2 job. They'll go get a job where they cannot be garnished. And that means working under the table. And that means nobody is paying into Social Security. Nobody is paying their state or federal income taxes. Monies are not being collected. And ultimately, you begin to have a breakdown of the system. And I mean this. Like, this is why the bankruptcy system is so important to a healthy economy and to a healthy society.
And I think it happens to a lot of people until somebody actually goes through the process of filing a bankruptcy. Many of our clients don't realize how many of their neighbors, co-workers had to file a bankruptcy themselves.
Sure.
For one reason or another. I think about 1% or a portion of 1% of population files a case or something like that.
If you go back over the last 20 to 25 years, you're going to find that it's close to 1%. With COVID in place, it's been a little bit less than that for a whole host of reasons. But you go back prior to that, and you're going to find that it's probably in around that range. And in part, you're going to find that the default on debt is going to be in around that range as well, if not a little bit higher, maybe 2%. But these things kind of run together. And when you look at the collections in the state courts, you'll find that as collections in the state courts goes up, you'll see that bankruptcies go up as well. All of these things are related. It is not that everybody that gets sued in the state court files a bankruptcy. It's that when people reach a point where they can't cover their basic bills or their basic obligations, then they need to file a bankruptcy. It's very common for us to have clients coming in the door that are mathematically in a position where they're going to have to file.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to point out is that in our office, we know what it's like to, struggle with making payments and having financial trouble. So we really, I know this sounds kind of cliche, but we are a judgment-free zone here. So
yeah.
I don't think anybody in our office, be it our attorneys or staff, is going to, I don't know, make you feel less of a human, I guess, for wanting to file a bankruptcy case. So.
Yeah, I grew up in a household where the utilities were shut off and there were threats of repossession and there were lawsuits. And so I absolutely understand. And of course, I have fundamental beliefs about how systems work, how the bankruptcy system works, how the economy works. And for me, none of it's about judging people's individual decisions or what got them to this point. Most folks get to this point because they have no choice.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep. No choice, and it's just the circumstances.
It's the circumstances, right.
One unlucky, decision or unlucky medical event or just...
Or one unlucky job loss. I mean,
Yeah.
It really doesn't take much if you're living paycheck to paycheck. And for a lot of folks, even folks that on the surface have decent incomes, they're still living paycheck to paycheck because of the accumulated debt they have, the accumulated financial responsibilities. And we understand that. We see it all the time here. So don't let this idea that somebody out there is going to look down at you for what you have to do or judge you.
Friends, relatives, neighbors, who cares?
Yeah. If you're in a position where you need somebody to sit down with you and go through your finances and help you figure out if this is an option, you can come here. Everything here is confidential. So even if you come and see us and you decide, I don't want to move forward, it stays with us.
Yep.
All right? If you have any questions, if you need anything related to bankruptcy, please reach out to us. If you need to stop creditor calls, harassment, collections, lawsuits, repossessions, garnishments, or foreclosures, please give us a call. Consultations are free.